My girl, you just leaving work?
Yeah, just tying up a few things.
9 months pregnant, still working around the clock. You've got to be the most dedicated interior decorator that ever lived.
What can I say? I love my work. Ooh! Guess who decided to pay us an early visit?
Is this it?
Yeah! I'm on my way to the hospital. Meet me there?
Right, hospital. Don't panic. I'm here for you. All you have to do is breathe easy and breathe often and take it nice and slow. You're gonna be just
Yep,
fine.
gotcha. See you there.
Well, if they're not even going to try to promote the movie, then why the hell am I even going to bother with an intro? Welcome to Time About the Movies, and, okay, that's actually not why there's not an intro in the beginning here. Kind of on a time crunch here, because I got to get up tomorrow early for a toy show that I'm doing up at the mall, which you'll see in another video with Movie Stop episode coming out tomorrow, but we're taking a look at the 4 films of August 19th, 2011, and I'm going to be quick with this one here, because I got some things I got to do before I got to get going, so, let's just go ahead and jump right into it with the first film, Spy Kids All the Time in the World, which certainly didn't feel like they took all the time in the world to make this movie any good, because, yeah, this is pretty bad. Robert Rodriguez returns once again to direct this one, so, yeah, this isn't like another director that came in and completely ruined what made the first Spy Kids movie so good. No, this is all on Robert Rodriguez's ass. And in this movie, the 2 siblings, well, technically they're not even in the movie for that much, but they return for a mission as they team up with their step-family. This time they are up against the clock to save the world. Along the way, some hidden truths are revealed, and they will also learn what it truly means to work together in whatever time they have left. In other words, they put this together at the 11th hour and just said, fuck it. We got to put another movie out there. The demand is clearly there for another Spy Kids movie since it's been, 8 years since the last movie came out? You think anybody really give a crap about Spy Kids in 2011? The last movie was barely getting by on a gimmick that wasn't even a gimmick that back then was considered to be a retread of something from the 80s. But now, let's take another thing from the 80s. Aromascope. This is one of those movies that was using Aromascope to sell the movie. You would have audiences having these cards. They would smell odors and aromas throughout the film. And it would be like disgusting stuff like, smell the baby's diaper, or smell this thing of dog poop. I don't know if it was actually dog poop, but it's just kind of like, no, I don't want that. I don't want any of this. And I just want a good movie, man. And sadly, it is not there in this movie. And most people agree that the franchise had pretty much run its course. I mean, the third film was barely getting by. And, I mean, that one was the worst one up to that point. But then this one comes around, and it doesn't help that you have Jessica Alba continuing to fall off the surface of the earth with another really bad movie to her name. Because, yeah, this is another one of those movies that literally killed her career and whatever she had left of it. Because, yeah, this thing was just a mess. And hey, let's bring on Joel McHale for the ride too, because let's kill his career while he's still in Community. Let's bring in Ricky Gervais as the dog. Why not? Let's have Jeremy Piven as the villain. Why not? Like, everything in this movie just feels like, what can we put together in 5 minutes? Who can we get that's available for the next 2 hours? Oh, these people, come on in. We don't even care if we don't have an original script plan on here. Just do stuff, and then we'll make it as a movie. There is zero effort being put into this movie, and it just feels like that right from the get-go. It's a lazy film. It's a lousy film. It's a boring movie, man. There's just nothing about it that makes it worth it in the end. The Spy Kids series should have just died off with the third film. Just let the third film be the last one and be done with it. But no. Not Old Dimension Films. We're going to milk this cash cow until we say it's over. Which, it's pretty much over and done with here. And even they did a 5th one 12 years later. Still pretty bad. And yeah. So what more can you ask for? Spy Kids All the Time in the World. Just do yourself a favor and put your time to something else of usefulness. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, which is Conan the Barbarian.
In despair, your new master.
When evil reigns,
You will kneel before me.
one warrior will stand,
No man shall live in chains.
and an empire
I do not want your kingdom.
No? Then what?
will fall.
I want your head. Run from me, and I'll follow you to hell.
And your name is?
Conan.
Conan. That's it?
How many names do I need? Barbarian! You will fall!
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan!
Theaters August 19th.
And speaking of Robert Rodriguez, he was attached to this at one point, along with the Wachowski brothers, and among with many other people that, because this thing had been going into development hell for years, like all the way back to when Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing the Conan the Barbarian movies. And yeah, this was back when Jason Momoa wasn't seen as the cool dude that he is nowadays in action movies. No, this was him just coming off of Power Rangers. They saw him as this big, muscular guy, and they said, fuck it, we'll make him Conan. Not really much more to say about the story here. A vengeful barbarian warrior sets off to get revenge on the evil warlord who attacked his village and murdered his father when he was a boy. So they've literally taken the same kind of concept as Conan the Barbarian did in the original film, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, but yeah, needless to say, this one very much pales in comparison to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. The Schwarzenegger movies, at least the first one, is a fun movie overall. Here's the funny thing about the first Conan the Barbarian movie. People forget that Conan barely speaks in that movie. In the second movie, Conan the Destroyer, there's 3 times more dialogue for Conan in that movie than he has in the original movie. And yet, Arnold Schwarzenegger just made that character work so well in those films. And we know that Jason Momoa can be a badass. We've seen it in Aquaman. We've seen it in a bunch of movies since then. But this is back when he was coming off of Power Rangers, and he wasn't really getting into that ebb and flow of being the next big action star in here, and it just felt like they pushed him in there because he's got the pecs, he's got the body. Women will go crazy for him. Hey, we're gonna throw in Rachel Nichols and Rose McGowan in here too to get the guys in here as well. And we also got the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was gonna say the beginning, but no, the beginning was directed by somebody else. But no, this is the guy who directed the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which wasn't a bad movie overall. Pathfinder, not so much. Friday the 13th, Yeah, he has not been a great director overall, and this is definitely another one of those movies where it just doesn't work overall. It's trying to be another 300 clone, and it fails miserably at it. I mean, it's a film that... it's not like they can't do a Conan the Barbarian movie nowadays and make it work. And hell, you could probably do it now with Jason Momoa back in the role, because now we know that he can actually fill in an action movie. He can be a big action draw in a movie. So I wouldn't mind them doing another one of these, and maybe even get Jason Momoa back in here. But in this case, this is a movie that is produced by Lionsgate, it's produced by Millennium Films, and Millennium Films does not have the best track record in terms of action movies. These are the type of movies, they make the type of movies that you see in a bin at Walmart or the Dollar Tree, and they're like basically the equivalent of public domain movies. And this one just didn't quite fit the mold that they were going for here, and it just didn't work. The action wasn't that great. The movie looks so dark and bleak, and again, it's trying way too hard to be like 300 and failing miserably at it. So take that for what you will. So that's Conan the Barbarian. So let's go ahead and move on to the best overall movie of the week, and you wouldn't believe it, but it's the remake of Fright Night.
Hey, guy.
Your neighbor? I think he's a vampire.
You read way too much Twilight.
He's not brooding or lovesick. He's the shark from Jaws.
You can't get in without an invitation.
Don't need an invitation if there's no house.
Fright Night.
I repel you with the power of...
Really?
Rated R.
Yeah, nobody would have expected that this one would actually be pretty good, but this is a remake of the 1985 horror classic, and this time it's been modernized for a new generation, which you have Anton Yelchin as a teenage boy who discovers that his neighbor, played by Colin Farrell, is actually a vampire, which culminates in a battle between the two. You also have Toni Collette, Imogen Poots, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and David Tennant starring in the role that was played original by Roddy McDowall, very well by Roddy McDowall. And this was actually a surprisingly really good movie. I mean, it was actually a lot of fun. It did create a modern version of the original film without copying the same movie in general, and I thought it played it very well. Anton Yelchin's really good in here. Colin Farrell's having a ton of fun with this. When you have a director like Craig Gillespie, who very rarely makes a bad movie, this is a film where he gets a chance to show what he can really do. And this is written by somebody who worked on Buffy the Vampire Slayer too, so the pieces came together very well, and for a remake, it actually is one of the better horror remakes that has come out. Which not surprisingly means that the film did not do well at the box office. I mean, it didn't do bad business overall. It got $41 million against the budget of $30 million worldwide, but the reviews were positive overall, so I guess people did go to see it, and it did become somewhat of a cult hit later on down the road, to the point where it actually had a direct-to-video sequel, which, of course, usually means that they did not get anybody from the original cast back, but nevertheless, this is actually a pretty good movie overall. It doesn't upstage the original movie, and it creates its own unique modern twist on the original film without feeling like it's just a simple retread of the original movie. It's a fun film. It's definitely worth checking out this Halloween. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Fright Night. So with that said, on to our last movie that we have here, and it is easily the worst movie of the week, and it's one of those movies where you look at it and go like, this doesn't seem bad on paper, but then you see the movie and, oh boy. One day, man. One day.
Just good friends.
You sure about that?
It can take one day to meet your soulmate.
I'm a disaster.
Everyone's lost at 25.
You're not. Kino could use a nice new flat.
And a lifetime to realize it.
Getting married.
I need to speak to someone. Not someone. You.
Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis.
Whatever happens tomorrow, we had today.
One day, rated PG-13.
And again, like I said, the trailer doesn't make it look that bad, but it's one of those movies that has a moment where it literally has the jumping the shark moment in it, where it's just kind of like, what the hell are you even doing? But we'll talk about that as we go along here. But after spending the night together on the night of their college graduation, Dexter and Emily, played by Jim Sturgis and Anne Hathaway, are shown every year on the same day to see where they are in their lives. They are sometimes together, sometimes not, on that day. And the plot for One Day was actually pretty interesting, kind of like the equivalent of a mix between Before Sunrise meets Back to the Future, like the Before trilogy meets Back to the Future, or even Groundhog Day is probably a better example, because you have these two people who meet every year on a specific day. And I thought the idea of showing these characters meeting on the same day for 20 years was a pretty good idea for a movie. In fact, around this time, Richard Linklater was making that movie Boyhood, which was about 2 years away from still coming out. The movie where he followed a kid from birth at age 11, and to the point where every year they would film a bit from now until 2002. And the movie came out a couple years later and was actually a really damn good movie. I think he's actually doing another one with this, honestly, with that same concept. I don't know for certain, but I know he was talking about doing another one, and I think they already had started working on those films, but as far as this film goes, it's so-so. When the movie came out, it was criticized for being kind of predictable, and I always say that a romantic comedy or drama with a predictable plot can be good if the two main characters' chemistries work well enough, and for the most part, Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis are great in this. They actually are people who really are like a real-life couple that just don't know what they really want yet. And I thought Anne Hathaway surprisingly did a good job with the British accent. I know in the trailer it didn't sound that great, but it actually did sound a whole lot better in the actual movie. I mean, she was born in Brooklyn, and I was very surprised to see that she actually did it so well. And you got Jim Sturgis in here doing a pretty good job. And for the first two acts, it was pretty good. I was getting into it. I like the style that they use and having the characters interacting in some way on that same day. Like, those first two acts were nicely done, and if the third act had just been as good as those two acts before that, I would be praising the movie. However, the third act drops it down so quickly. And here's the thing that makes me hate those three. There are three things about that third act that I hate. One, they start jumping around with the dates after 2001, which the purpose of this was supposed to be following the characters on the same day for 20 years. So we're going to stop it at 2001, and then we're going to jump to 2003. Like, I would have liked to have seen these characters the July 15th after September 11th happens. I mean, you could have done that at some point, but no, they just jump ahead to 2003. And then there's another point where in 1996 the two leads decide not to speak with each other, and then they jump to 1997 to 1999 without showing them together in the same shot. You could have done the same thing in 2002, but the movie decides to just stop in its tracks and just like, fuck it, we're not even going to be consistent with our premise anymore. Two, the editing gets sloppily put together. I mean, Jesus Christ. At the end, there's a scene in 1988 where these two meet Dexter's parents, and I believe that scene should have been saved for the beginning of the movie with the rest of the 88 sequence and not tagged on to the end. And the biggest problem with the movie, the point that made me say I hate this movie so much, and this is a spoiler, so if you have not seen it, I dare you, as I ask you to step away. But at this point, it's been 14 years, and if you haven't seen it by now, chances are you're probably not going to see it anyway. But I gotta tell you this. So we get to 2006, and we see Anne Hathaway riding on her bicycle into an alley, and then out of nowhere, out of the blue, with no foreshadowing at all, a truck comes and hits Anne Hathaway and instantly kills her, leaving Jim Sturgis devastated. There are so many things wrong with this whole sequence. Where do I even start? Well, let's start off with the fact that it would have been cool if they didn't show it, but they showed it, and it looks absolutely terrible and unintentionally funny. And I hate when movies that are not comedies do this kind of shit. I mean, it works in a comedy like Mean Girls, in a comedy like the Scary Movie films, and in a comedy like Get Smart, because they're comedies. When comedies do something like this, it's funny. Even in something in the Final Destination movies, when they make that the running gag of every movie, that's funny. It's a horror movie, but it's a funny thing. Like, it's funny when it happens out of nowhere. But when it happens in a serious drama, like in this movie, or more notably in something like Meet Joe Black, which has one of the funniest, over-the-top death scenes for Brad Pitt I've ever seen. But even more funnier, the shitty 2002 remake of The Time Machine, where Guy Pearce's fiance gets trampled by a horse and carriage, and it literally is showing it right in the mirror, and it's supposed to be all serious and all that, but there's nothing serious about that. It is absolutely hilarious. And, like, that's the type of stuff that you don't show in a drama like this, in a serious film that we're supposed to be taking seriously, and you show that shit? Third, and most importantly, it comes out of nowhere. And when it happens, Sturgis' reaction to finding out that the one he had loved all these years had just died is not even shown. He's just kind of like, whatever, who cares what this guy's emotions or status is? We just cut to the next year, we got no foreshadowing on the impending truck crash that will kill Anne Hathaway at all, and they don't even decide to break the purpose of the film to show her funeral. It's just like the women on the guy's side has just died, and we just decide not to show it. But, I'm sorry, that's fucking stupid. It made me so mad when I saw that, when that scene came up, and the rest of the film just stops dead in its tracks and suffers because of how that scene happens. Once that happens, the film just goes careening off the cliff, and there's no turning back at all. And it's a shame, because the first two acts were good. The first two acts were working. The chemistry was working well. But then that third act happens, and it's like the filmmakers just gave up and said, fuck it. Fuck it. They're going to put this out in August, so that means if people aren't going to give a shit about this movie, then why the fuck should we? Give a shit about your movie. I don't care what month you put it out in. Try. Put effort into it. For God's sake, there is no reason for you to stoop to this low. And I couldn't believe this film did that. This movie went to the bottom of the barrel of the worst films of the year within 30 minutes. That is unbelievable for a film like this. And I still can't believe that this film went to that low point. I mean, this is awful, man. This is a terrible, terrible movie. This is like the ending of Remember Me, except it's longer than the way it ends. The original, that movie ends, and it made it even more of an excruciating experience than that film did. One Day is a bad movie, and it's the same, because the first two acts were working so well, but then as soon as Anne Hathaway gets hit by the truck, it's just like game over, man. Like, I'm amazed that I didn't walk out when that happened, but I was given it the benefit of the doubt, and the doubt just said, yeah, go fuck yourself. You're not getting the ending you deserve. It's just like, just awful, awful, awful. So, yeah. One Day, just fucking awful, man. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll have a regular show for you coming up tomorrow on the show, as we wrap up the month of August with 3 more movies, including Zoe Saldana, starring in the action thriller Colombiana. We also have the horror film Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And we also have the comedy Our Idiot Brother, with Paul Rudd leading the charge alongside Zooey Deschanel, Rashida Jones, and Emily Mortimer among this cast. Should be good, but yeah, this is another one of those comedies where it just didn't live up to the... Toy boat. it just didn't live up to the hype that it was having going into it. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow on the show. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. There's our playlist right there. There's the last episode we did. So like I said, I'm kind of in a rush here to get out of here, so I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.